Dear Lana, my name is Dr. Evan Sagwa. I welcome you to this topic of today, employee placement. This topic will take us through the meaning of employee placement, the benefits of employee placement, and the effects of improper placement of employees in a work environment. We will start with the meaning of employee placement. Employee placement. Employee placement is the process of placing or fixing an employee in one of the several positions that an employee can be able to be deployed to in any given organization. For instance, an employee may be employed as a human resource assistant. This employee can fit as a human resource assistant in charge of human resource registry, or can be in charge of human resource welfare, or can be in charge of human resource discipline section. So the process of employee placement chooses for this specific employee which of these available positions is the most suitable for this specific employee. We will look at the various benefits of employee placement in a given work environment. So one, employee placement helps in enhancing the job satisfaction level, of an employee. As a result of this placement, an employee who is put in a job where their skills match the requirements of that particular job, that employee is able to work with the minimum or no supervision. This employee is able to enjoy doing the work and working with others. Hence, the conclusion that once you place an employee in a job where their skills are relevant, this enhances their job satisfaction levels. Then two, employee placement assists in ensuring that employees are able to be more productive in their work assignments, in the sense that an employee who is placed in a job that they are able to do effectively, they are able to work, and within a short turnaround of time, they are able to give the results that are required with the minimum arrangements in relation to consultations. This also helps in reducing conflicts in the work environment. Employees who work in positions that they are able to work without supervision and without having to consult others are able to produce results for which their supervisors and colleagues are able to appreciate without having to complain and conflict in terms of the expectations. Hence, the idea that when an employee is placed in a job that they enjoy to do and they have the skills, they reduce conflicts that may come or arise between themselves, their co-workers, and other employees, as it were. Fourthly, occupational accidents. Occupational accidents are minimized in the work environment, in the sense that employees who are placed in jobs that they are able to do effectively in line with their skills are able to perform these jobs with minimum or no occupational accidents, in the sense that they understand the job that they are expected to do. Hence, the benefit that will accrue to this particular organization or employee in the sense that occupational accidents are minimized or eliminated altogether. Then, fifthly, employees are able to achieve the targets that are set for those particular jobs. So once an employee has been placed, for instance, as a human resource assistant in charge of welfare, and they are able to ensure that employees who are supposed to access welfare services like housing, medical checkup, medical treatment for themselves and their families are able to achieve the targets. And once they achieve the targets, then the working environment will basically enjoy a better image from the users, both from internal and external service providers or external customers that they serve within that particular organization. Now, when it comes to the effects of improper placement, effects of improper placement. Before we look at the effects of improper placement, then we want to ask ourselves, what is improper placement? Improper placement is a scenario where an employee has been put in a job or has been assigned duties, and these duties are not in line with what the employee knows, the experiences of the employee, as the case might be. So in this case, some of the effects that may be associated with the proper emplacement of employees may include, but are not limited to, the following. So one, employees may suffer lower job satisfaction levels. So what this implies is that an employee who is put in a job where they are not satisfied, their job satisfaction and esteem will be low. This will ultimately also affect their performance, and once the job satisfaction of an employee is low, this may lead to other challenges like stress-related challenges within the working environment. Hence, that becomes a negative effect of improper placement for employees. Secondly, there might be a high rate of labor turnover. What this implies is that employees who are put in jobs that they do not enjoy are likely to experience negative aspects within the work environment, which may lead to employees resigning or being sacked from their jobs for absenteeism or poor quality work, and this may lead to incidences of high labor turnover among employees that may be associated with improper placement within the working environment. The third effect of improper employee placement might be an increase in work-related conflicts. Employees who are not able to work effectively will conflict with their superiors, will conflict with their co-workers, and with an increase in work-related conflicts, these employees are likely. What this implies is that an increase in work-related accidents will occur in the sense that workers have been given work that they are supposed to be doing. Now, the conflicts that may arise from the accidents that may happen in the work environment, or the superiors and co-workers may not be sufficiently happy with the employee. Hence, the idea that when an employee has been put in an environment that does not align well with what they possess in terms of skills, in terms of knowledge, that will create adverse effects of improper placement within the working environment. Then fourthly, poor quality of work. Employees are expected to provide high levels of quality of work in terms of what they produce, in terms of they provide services to their stakeholders. In the event that an employee has been placed in a job and this placement has been improper, then it is expected that to some extent the quality of work that will be coming from such an employee may not be as per the expected standards. Hence, that becomes an adverse effect of improper placement of employees within a working environment. There might also be a scenario where, at the fifth point, a harsh working environment may be created as a result of improper placement. If you have several employees who have been put in positions or jobs that they do not enjoy doing, then what this happens then is that there will be hostility among the workers themselves. There will be harsher reactions from customers, both internal and external, and that creates a harsh working environment that may be occasioned by improper placement within a working environment. Then as a result of this, now we have seen benefits of employee placement, proper employee placement. We have seen effects of improper placement of employees. What is supposed to be done by management? Management is supposed to ensure that whenever employees have been put in jobs, they should be placed properly and adequately given instructions to ensure that when these employees work within the work environment, they are able to enjoy their work, they are able to work well with the others, they are able to work well with the supervisors, they are able to avoid occupational risks and hazards and accidents that occur and are inherent in the work environment, and they are able to produce proper quality of workmanship in terms of what they produce to ensure that the organization can be able to produce services and goods that can help that particular organization compete effectively in the markets within which it operates and sustains a competitive advantage through the services provided by workers who are the most important resource and asset that any organization can have. And by so doing, employee placement enjoys a very critical role, a very critical place in the process of using employees adequately, process of using employees effectively, and creating a harmonious working environment for the good of the individual and also the good of the organization to achieve both individual and organizational goals. So thank you very much for listening to this human resource management topic, employee placement. Thank you very much. I hope to see you in the next lesson.
3, 2, 1, action.
Dear learner, the next thing we want to look at is employee induction. We want to look at employee induction. Employee induction. One may want to find out what is employee induction. Employee induction may also be referred to as employee orientation. May be referred to as employee orientation. The process of employee induction or employee orientation is the process of introducing a newly hired employee or an employee who has been assigned a different job or different duties, an opportunity to go through a culturalization process which takes that worker through the processes, through the areas the workers will be working through, and introducing that worker to the colleagues with whom the workers will be working. What is the purpose of employee induction? A purpose of employee induction. Employee induction may be done for various purposes. The first purpose is to introduce the worker or employee to the work environment. This implies that the worker who has been hired and assigned duties is introduced to the immediate work environment within which that worker will be performing his or her duties in that particular organization. Employee induction also helps in reducing the anxiety that a given employee may have as they take up new roles. This helps in ensuring that the workers' worries are handled, the workers' anxiousness is also taken care of by the employee being informed that they can be able to tackle this work and also interacting with the people that the worker will be working with. The purpose of employee induction is also to expose the worker to organizational rules, rules and regulations that will be governing the employee as they work within the work environment, and also to provide a realistic view of the job to the worker. What this means is that an employee may be having a different view or orientation regarding a given job or a given task they are supposed to be handling. So through this process of employee induction, the worker is able to have a bird's eye view or a realistic view of the job, and this one enhances the chances of the employee settling very quickly within that particular role. Now we want to look at the areas through which an employee may be inducted, areas of employee induction, Depending on the needs of any given one organization, the areas of employee induction may include: one, the history of the organization. This is where the employee is introduced to the history and background that the organization has gone through, so that the employee can be able to understand where has the organization come from, what has the organization been doing, where is the organization at as it is as the employee is joining, and where is the organization going. The second aspect would be the organizational structure. An employee being taken through an employee induction program may also be oriented through the structure of the organization, showing the various levels or hierarchies within that particular organization in relation to who is the one in charge of that organization as a CEO, who are the deputies, who are the section heads, who are the people managing different departments, different units, so that the employee can have a structure of how work is performed in that particular organization based on this organizational structure. The employee may also be inducted through the names of the key human resources or executives within that particular organization, their duties and responsibilities in terms of those who are driving that particular organization, so that the worker is able to know when it comes to the organization, who are the decision makers, what are their responsibilities, what are their duties, what do they do, and how will the employee support these particular processes. The employee may also be taken through other organizational aspects like the strategic plan and strategies that the organization has in relations to its operations, so that the employee can know how to support these particular strategies, what role the employee will play, what contribution the worker will give, and also the context within which work is being done in that particular organization. The employee may also be oriented through welfare services that are available to staff, These may include directly the staff as an employee, medical facilities that are provided for workers and their families, And when an employee needs counseling, for example, what services are made available, among other issues, sporting facilities, and so on. Employees may also be oriented through the staff handbook that contains rules and regulations that govern the employment contract of that particular employee and other employees within that particular setting. This helps the employee so that the employee can now know in cases, for example, of annual leave, where does the employee take the annual leave form, where does the employee get support in relation to workplace operations, as the case might be. The employee may also be oriented through the occupational health and safety procedures that are adopted within that work environment. These occupational health and safety procedures, as they may be provided for in the various statutes, for example, the Occupational Health and Safety Act or other regulations, may assist in ensuring that the employee is able to work in an environment where there is reduced risk to occupational hazards and risks, and the employee can also be able to undertake protective measures, protective clothing, protective equipment to ensure that risks and accidents are minimized, as the case might be. It should also be noted that the employee can also be oriented through number 8, the products and services that the organization provides, the products and services that the organization provides, These helps in ensuring that the employee has product and service knowledge, so that when the employee is serving internal and external customers, the employee can be able to resonate well with the requirements of these stakeholders, so that they can be provided the services and facilities as the case might require. Then number 9, there could be quality standards. Standards that the organization might require the employee to be exposed to. For instance, the ISO certification standards within which the operations of the organizations take place. So the worker is taken through these particular processes to ensure that they comply with the standard operating manuals, the standard operating procedures, to be within the requirements of this particular organizational operational context. Then finally, the employee may be oriented through the layout and setup of the organization, which helps the employee to be able to move around the organization, to be able to do things without having to consult others, because they have a picture, they have a map, they have a setup of how the organization operates, and when they start working, they can be able to at least work well with the other colleagues, the other sections, the other departments within which they are supposed to get their work done. So dear listener, we may want to ask ourselves, what are some of the benefits that may be associated with employee induction within a given organization? So in this case, we can mention some benefits of employee induction. Benefits of employee induction. Benefits of employee induction. Employee induction. The first benefit that may be associated with employee induction or orientation is that an employee is able to settle faster settling in a new job. Once the orientation takes place, an employee is able to settle faster within a new role, within a new job, because they know what they are supposed to do in relation to their duties, in relation to their responsibilities. They are also able to move around without having to consult others. The second benefit that may be associated with employee induction is that it makes the employee to have an affinity for the organization. What this means is that an employee who has been taken through an orientation program has been exposed to the colleagues the employee will be working with. The employee is able to be attached to that particular organization because the welcoming process, the orientation process is able to welcome that particular employee to a work environment, and what follows is a scenario where the employee would want to work for that particular organization and make their contribution. Proper employee induction also helps in reducing the rate of labor turnover. What this implies is that an employee who has been taken through an orientation process is likely to accept the working environment and the working conditions because the employee has been exposed to those particular conditions. So when challenges come, this particular employee is able to take those challenges within their strides, and this helps in reducing labor turnover with specific emphasis to new entrants to particular positions and to particular jobs. Fourthly, reduction of consultation times. Reduction of consultation time. What this point implies is that an employee who has been taken through an effective and proper orientation or induction program has learned what is expected to be done, has known the reporting structures, and this particular employee is able to work with the minimum or no consultations, and this reduction of consultation ensures that activities can be done when they are supposed to be done without having to spend time on consultation. Then 5, once an employee has been inducted, it helps in reducing dependence on other workers. Now, what this implies is that an employee who has been oriented, for instance, through the layout, has been taken through the layout of any one given organization, is able to move within that particular organization freely without having to depend on other employees to ask for directions. If, for example, a meeting is supposed to be done in Block A, the worker will be able to know where Block A is and is able to move, is able to get work done, is able to deliver what is supposed to be delivered at the shortest time possible. Then costs that are associated with labor turnover are also reduced. So we can also say in our 6th point, it may help in reducing costs that relate to new hire. So when employees who have been hired are able to remain in particular positions or in particular jobs, they are able to work, and there is no need to spend money on re-advertisement of positions or to hire others to be able to do the work of those who have left the organization. And by essence, this reduction in costs adds value to the organizational operational environments. So these could be some of the benefits that are associated with employee induction within a given organization. The question one may want to ask is, are there some challenges that may be associated with the employee induction process? There could be some challenges of employee induction. So one, lack of time among senior employees like supervisors. The process of employee induction may require that supervisory staff or administrative staff should be able to find time to be able to take new employees through an induction or orientation program. So lack of time may be one of the challenges that may be experienced when you want to conduct an employee induction program in any given organization. Secondly, employees may be provided with a lot of information, and this may lead to information overload during the orientation process, where the employees may, for instance, be required to be taken through a whole process of induction, maybe in 1 or 2 days. So this information overload may also be a challenge that might not be handled effectively with the new employees who have been hired to a given job because of information overload. The other challenge that may be encountered is the lack of knowledge about organizational operations by some of the employees who are expected to provide the employee induction program. So in cases where those who are supposed to provide employee induction may not have the requisite knowledge, the requisite skills to be able to provide the orientation effectively, then this becomes a challenge to the process of employee orientation or employee induction. Fourthly, employees who have been inducted may be thrust or thrown into the actual work after orientation. And this may not work well for the newly hired employees, in the sense that once they go through an orientation program, they may not have the requisite exposure to be able to carry out what it is required within that working environment. Hence, that becomes a challenge of employee induction. Number 5, lack of documents and manuals to conduct in the employee induction. What this means is that an organization is expected to have manuals that are supposed to be used to conduct the employee orientation program, but due to changes that take place within the working environment, it becomes difficult for an organization to compile manuals that are relevant at any one given particular time to be used in the process of employee induction. Hence, this becomes a challenge in the process of employee induction in an organization. So, dear learner, we have looked at the process of employee induction in this particular section of our lesson, and we have seen that employee induction is the process of orienting or culturalizing an employee or socializing an employee to be able to acclimatize to a working environment, to be able to take up the roles that have been assigned at the shortest time possible. This process has areas that employees are supposed to be taken through, and these areas are supposed to be mapped out clearly. There would be benefits through the induction program, where employees can settle down very quickly within their roles in terms of the process. They can also be able to have some affinity and affection to the organization, towards the organization. But on the other hand, there are also some challenges that may be encountered in the employee induction process, which may include aspects like lack of time, lack of documents to be able to carry out the process, and also lack of knowledge among some of the employees who are supposed to carry out that particular process. Organizations are supposed to take measures to ensure that the employee induction process is conducted by senior management, who can give this the administrative push and support that is required to ensure that newly deployed workers are able to settle within this particular process they are able to take their tasks seriously and be able to contribute to the work environment and be able to provide their contribution to realization of both individual and organizational goals. So thank you very much for your attention.